All right, guys, welcome to today's episode of Strong Men, Strong Marriages, how to stop failing and start succeeding in your marriage. So, there's probably areas in your marriage where you are falling down right now, whether that's with trust, whether that's with communication, whether that's with intimacy. Failure meaning you're not getting what you want, right? That's why you're here, that's why you're listening. So, we'll learn how to stop those failures and start really succeeding, getting the goals that you want. So, my name is Mike Frazier, MD. I'm a psychiatrist and marriage coach. I help high achieving Christian men have more intimate marriages. So, some weekly wins from the guys in my program, my Love, Intimacy, and Legacy program. Man, guys are doing really well. It's just so fun to see. Guys are sharing about just sitting at the table, just enjoying that family time, talking, laughing with their wife, with their kids. A lot of guys tell me that's what they come into the program wanting, is just those nice family moments. And guys are having those as a result of the work they're doing instead of like tension and fighting and all of that. Delivering apology letters. This is something that's a big part of the program. It's very hard to do. It takes a lot of courage. Okay. Let's talk about failing versus succeeding. A failure is like not having the courage to admit the things you've done wrong. Success is having the courage to do that. Even if your wife maybe doesn't like it at first, she'll respect it down the line. And that's what happens. Okay. So enjoying the time in the car that used to be awkward, having these long drives like to and from work or from church or whatever, if there's a lot of tension in the marriage, those can be really uncomfortable. But now guys are shifting from having that be uncomfortable to like looking forward to that and having those times be enjoyable and fun and talking, laughing, connecting, sharing deep things, getting to that mental emotional connection. Super cool. Turning times of high stress into opportunities for connection. So, moving, just having conflicts, holidays coming up, right? These are opportunities that can create high stress, or they can create a time for more connection. And guys are learning how to turn that into a time for connection. Okay, standing up for our point of view while also listening to hers, finding that balance. It's hard to do, but guys are doing it, and succeeding in that way. Letting her have her own emotional response without taking responsibility for it. So, sometimes we do things our wife doesn't like, even if they are right, even if we feel okay with it. And so, we don't have to manage that for her, right? We can let her have her emotions. We don't need to fix it. We can try to understand it and not take responsibility for it. And that's a really kind of tough balance if you don't have the tools, but once you get there, it's awesome, right? Having open communication versus holding things in for weeks. Some of the guys are saying just how different it feels to not be walking on eggshells for so much, to be able to just express themselves, to feel like they're finally getting that mentally emotional connection they want. It's so cool. Feel like they actually have a best friend now. Man, that was one of the coolest messages I got this week. So exciting. So having a bad attitude about going to see like the in-laws or, visiting friends or wife spending money or whatever, to being compassionate, right? Being the man that these guys want to be. Awesome. And avoiding versus cherishing these difficult conversations. We kind of talked about that. Getting big hugs from a wife who was kind of resistant to showing any kind of physical affection. It's huge, right? Going deep, finding deep reasons for a fear of criticism, and being able to focus on God's voice for self-worth. Man, that was another one of the coolest ones that I've gotten for a while. Just seeing guys connect with that sense of worth from God, right? Instead of being so dependent on their wife for it. So cool. And then for me, a willingness to have these difficult conversations, to bring things up with my wife. And I'll talk about this later, but we're actually going to go start seeing a coach as well. There's a few issues. We're just having some trouble getting to, get spot on. And so we're going to go see someone, which I'm looking forward to. I was kind of frustrated at first because, like that's what I do. And I'm like, I should know how to do this, and, pride issues. But look, I tell you guys this all the time, and we're talking about this today, but, you just that outside opinion, it's so important, especially in something like marriage where your emotions are so high, your mental clarity kind of starts going down as your emotions go high. So we learn how to control all that, but sometimes we just need that outside perspective, right? If we're failing, if we're not getting what we want, right, it's time to get an outside perspective. It's time to get a guide. Okay. And we'll explain why. So then in every good movie, in every good story, in every good book, there's something called the hero's journey. Okay. So looking at Rocky, one of my favorite movies. So let's look specifically at Rocky 3. Okay. This is a good one. So he goes, he's been champ for a long time now. He fights Clubber Lang, who beats him. right? And now Rocky, he's down, man. He's sad. Um, his coach has just died, his original coach. So he's just super depressed. But he finds a new coach, right? Apollo Creed, who used to be his opponent, right? And so he trains him and gets him ready, and he eventually beats Clubber Lang at the end. Okay. So Top Gun. So we just went and saw Top Gun Maverick, which is so cool, right? So he comes in, he's kind of like this arrogant guy, doesn't want to listen to anybody. People get mad at him for that. Um, but even he has guides, through this journey that help him. So he's got his old girlfriend, Jennifer Connelly is the actress. But yeah, she's kind of teaching him, hey man, like you need to chill out here and focus on what's important. And then the biggest one is Val Kilmer, who kind of like gives him the message that he needs at a time that he needs it, right? And then he's able to go on and succeed. So the thing is, right, these guys fail a bunch of times on their own first, right? This is always what happens in a good movie, in a good story. These guys, they have a hard time, right? So Hercules, like an animated movie, right? He goes through, he's not getting what he wants, he's not reaching his potential. He goes and gets a trainer, right, that helps him. There's always like these training montages with a coach or a trainer. So they use that guide or coach or mentor, right? They help them figure out what to do. They help them get through this. Okay. And eventually they succeed, right? They get what they wanted. So in Top Gun movie, they're able to get the mission accomplished that they wanted. In Rocky, he beats Clubber Lang. In Star Wars, right? They blow up the Death Star, but they have these failures first, and then they need a guide to help them, right? In Star Wars, it's like Yoda, Obi-Wan, those guys. So what does it mean to be a hero to your wife? Like in that hero's journey, or what's like success in that? So what your wife wants, she wants a guy who's strong, right? She wants a great dad. Okay? She wants someone who has that balance of being loving and kind, a guy who follows Christ, a guy who actually listens to her. Okay. So what's the proving ground for you? Like in your hero's journey, right? You're trying to succeed, right? You're trying to be a great husband, a great father. Okay. So the proving ground, it's your interactions with her and also your interactions with the kids, like the interactions that she views, right? But it's also that just kind of internal sense of self strength and self-confidence. Okay. So what you want to look at is where you're failing right now. Okay. So you're listening to this podcast because you want something more, right? There's something that's not quite there. So we want to look at where you're failing, right? And in my program, we look at this very closely, but you can do kind of a quick self-assessment right now. So is it in trust? One of the foundational pillars. Okay. So that can be in broken promises, little stuff, not coming home on time, not starting stuff on time, saying you're going to make dinner and you don't. Those little things, they add up, right? Poor emotional management, getting pouty or needy or whiny, or getting anger, having temper issues. Okay. That's scary. It's scary to her. I shared on here a couple weeks ago. I did that. It freaked my wife out and my kids. It was not good. Not a good situation. So the mosquito cycle, right? Doing nice things for her, expecting something back, getting mad when you don't get it, exploding or escaping. So getting mad at her, escaping into pornography or work or something to kind of avoid it, walking on eggshells. Then infidelity, of course, is a big one here, breaking trust. So are you failing in some of those areas? Maybe so, right? With communication, does your wife complain you don't really listen to her? Okay. Are you not very good at expressing yourself clearly? Or when you finally do you kind of like keep things bottled up for a long time, then just get super mad out of nowhere? Okay. Do you take a lot of losses in your marriage and then get resentful instead of actually trying to get to win-win and expressing yourself? Okay. With intimacy, are you needy and whiny, or are you getting demanding about sex? Do you feel like it's owed to you? Do you walk on eggshells a lot and not bringing up difficult conversations versus having intimate communication? Or just as a failure, are you not having the type of intimacy, the sexual intimacy you want? Do you not have that sexual connection that you want? Okay. So I want to look at what you make failure mean. So, like, what's your definition of failure? So, when I thought about this for myself, I thought, man, when I think about failure, I think, someone that's a loser, they're never going to succeed. It's a character flaw. Those are kind of my own thoughts. So, for you, like, what are those thoughts about failure? So, I looked up the dictionary definition of these things. So the condition or fact of not having achieved the desired end. Okay, that's one definition. I like that one a lot because it's just like, yeah, I didn't get quite what I wanted. right? Great definition. A person that fails, one that fails, all right? The condition or fact of being insufficient or falling short, okay? Fair enough. A cessation of proper functioning or performance, non-performance of what is requested or expected, the act of failing to pass a course, test, or assignment, a decline in strength or effectiveness. Here's the thing, right? When you look at those definitions, we're all failures at something, right? Sometimes we're insufficient. Sometimes we fall short. Sometimes we don't function properly. Sometimes we don't perform what's expected or requested. Either that's our wife's expectations of us, our own expectations of us, or what's requested. Okay. Decline in strength or effectiveness, that happens to all of us sometimes. Look, it just happens. Okay. So a good kind of way to think about this is, as Christian guys, we can look at Jesus, right? So Jesus, he came because he knew it, right? He knew we were going to fail. He knew we were going to be insufficient at times. Okay. So just remember, like, Jesus came because of that. He came because he wants us to rely on him, to know that he can be there for us. So that's part of this. So, we're talking about guides. Jesus, God, through prayer, through scriptures, like, they can be our guides in a really powerful way. They can give us inspiration and help. A lot of times, though, they work through other people, right? They work through other guides to help guide and direct us and use other people's gifts and talents to help us, right? So, we talked about those thoughts about failure and how they're all pretty negative, in a lot of ways. Like, again, my initial thoughts were how this, someone that never succeeds is a character flaw. But a better way to think about failure is, in these ways. And so a relationship, right? The way I define a relationship is your thoughts and feelings towards something. So what are your thoughts and feelings towards failure? That might be pretty negative right now. So let's try to rework that a little bit. Okay. If we just define it as I'm not getting what I want, and we understand we're all failures sometimes, we understand we're okay anyway, we understand Jesus is there for us when we do fail, that it's important. How else can we think about it, right? So another way to think about it is failure is a stepping stone to success, which I definitely believe. When you are trying to reach a goal, failure is just part of it along the way. I was trying for a really long time to, replace my old income with my income from coaching, and failed, but eventually succeeded. Right. And, so failure was just part of it. If I hadn't been trying and failing, I wouldn't have figured out what didn't work. Right. I wouldn't have found what did work. Okay. Failure makes success sweeter, which it totally does, right? The kind of like the harder you work at something, that's just how it is. You value that success a lot more. You've been trying for this goal, and finally you get it. I watched Eddie Strongman on Netflix the other night, and man, that guy, he's like, I'm going to be strongest man in the world. That was his goal, and he failed, right? Bad, but eventually he got it, right? He won it, and that made it so much more powerful and much sweeter for him. Okay. Failure builds strength. 100% it does. Even just physical weight training, right? When you hit the failure point, that's when your body rebuilds stronger. So it's ready next time to push that weight up again, right? Say you fail at 200 pounds, right? Next time you come back and you can do 200, right? Because your body is rebuilt to be able to match that challenge. Failure teaches lessons. For sure it does, right? I mean, you learn a lot more from failure than success for the most part, because you have to look at it and analyze and say, man, why isn't this working? And find what does. Okay, failure means I'm testing my limits and growing instead of playing small. Matt, I like that. I like that thought a lot. It's totally true. If you are going to the ends of your abilities, you're going to be failing. Again, coming back to that strength training, if you're lifting 2 pounds every day, like, oh, I did it again. I lifted 2 pounds. Like, you're not testing your limits. You're not growing. You need to push that limit. It's the same with spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, we're talking about, and also sexual strength. If you're failing, it means you're testing those limits. It means you're growing. Okay. And then here's another important one. Repeated failure means I need some outside help to succeed. It's kind of hard for high achieving guys to admit that, but it's an important one to remember, right? Repeated failure, it means I need some help, outside help to succeed. Like, I fail a lot of times. I need an outside perspective here. I can't solve it on my own. Or another way to think about it is, I want to shortcut my path to success in reaching my goals. And that's why I'm going to get a guide, so I don't step into all these holes and landmines, right, that I could avoid otherwise with the help of a guide. Okay. So you don't have to bang your head against the wall for 30 years in your marriage before you get help, right? You can come at 2 years, 1 year, as soon as you see a problem, right? And just kind of shortcut and get the help that will help you get to success faster. So if you get coaching, right, from, let's say you work with me, right? If you decide, yeah, I'm going to get coaching, does it mean that you failed? The truth is, yeah, it means that you have tried things, but you're not getting the results that you want. Okay. That's fine, right? That's all it means. And so just redefining that definition to failure, saying like, yeah, look, it's a stepping stone success. It builds my strength. It teaches lessons. It means I'm testing my limits. And also, look, I've failed enough times now. I'm just ready to kind of shortcut that and get a guide through this process. Okay. So the thing about the guide in the hero's journey, we're talking about the hero's journey and Rocky and how you're trying to succeed in your marriage, get those connections, those laughs, that mental, emotional, and sexual intimacy. Okay. The guide is available in the hero's journey anytime that you want. Okay. You can have them come in when things are not that bad in your marriage, but you want them better. That's why my wife and I are going right now. Look, they're pretty good, but can they be better? Yeah, there's some areas we want to work on together. So we're going to go do that, get a coach to help us do that. Or you can wait until your marriage is about to end, which some guys do. Okay. And at that point, it's harder, right? The earlier you get a guide, the better. And the guide can enter anytime you want. Okay. You can fail as few times as you want or as many times as you want before you get a guide. Okay. It's up to you. Right. And here's the thing, for me, it's easy to help the guys in my program, right? Because I have that outside perspective. I have a lot of experience personally and professionally helping guys through this. So we help them avoid this stuff. We help them work through it quickly. We help them get from failure to success with a lot less, time. Okay. With a lot less failures along the way, we help you avoid some stuff that maybe you would have run into otherwise. Okay. It's like you're going on a path, right? Would you rather have a path and someone walking you down it, or just like be wandering in the woods? Like maybe you'll find the way out, but it might take you a really long time. Your wife might get sick of waiting while you're trying to find your way out of that forest. Okay. So again, like I can help guys in the program, but again, my wife and I are going to get some help because emotions are really high when you're trying to deal with it. Your judgment gets clouded. It's not as good. That outside perspective is just super powerful. Okay. So what does success look like, right? We're talking about the hero's journey. We're talking about hitting the failures, getting a guide to help you to succeed. So at the end of this path, what is success? So, as far as trust goes, it means you're a man of your word, right? You overcome past hurts like infidelity or pornography or anger outbursts. You're able to get through that, okay? You're able to manage your thoughts and emotions really well. You're able to feel strong and solid in your self-worth and confidence before God and men, right? It's not that you're never going to make a mistake again, but you're able to learn from it, right? And provide and progress. Okay. And you're a great example to your kids. So you have confidence, you're a great example to your kids, all of that. Okay. With communication, you're able to listen and express yourself well, both of those, right? Balance that. Have deep communication, have mental, emotional intimacy, have laughter, fun, flirting, right? All of that. Then with intimacy, you're able to get to win-win agreements. So stuff like money, sex, in-laws, parenting, religion. You guys face difficulties, but you know you can get through them. You're not walking on eggshells anymore. You have a real intimate communication with your wife. Okay. You have difficult conversations, but you come out stronger because of it. Okay? You're able to have passion, flirting, sexual intimacy, great sexual connection as part of that. Okay. And you're showing that great example to the kids, right? So now your wife, she's bragging about you. She wants her boys to be just like you when they grow up. She wants her daughters to marry someone like you. And you feel that too. Like, hey, I'm doing a good job here, right? And you're leaving a great legacy for your children to follow. Okay. So you can get there. And a guide is going to help you get there way faster. All right. So in summary, the hero's journey always includes failure. It just does. Okay. So it's a necessary precursor to success of getting the goals that you want. To succeed in marriage, right? You need trust, communication, and intimacy. And you need that in your interactions with your wife, with your kids, and also just internally, right? A lot of trust is with your internal mental, emotional management, your self-confidence, right? So that's, being a man of your word, that's all internal stuff. So you want to find the right guide to help you through this process. Okay? If you want to do it faster, right? And if you want to avoid some landmines, if you want to be just humble yourself enough to say, hey, like, yeah, I've failed a bunch of times and I want to get the guide, right? I want to get the coach. I don't want to be, Rocky that, loses and is like burying his head in the sand forever, or, Luke Skywalker who, like, um, he never learns to control the force and is just like doing weird tricks with it. You can't do anything powerful with it. Or, I don't want to be like, uh, I don't want to be stuck, right? I want to get the guide and get the help. So, I'm not the right guide for everybody, but I'm a right guide for certain people. So if you're a high achieving Christian man and you want to learn the best skills from neuroscience, from coaching, while staying true to Christian values, you want to build your strength, mentally, emotional, physical, spiritual, sexual strength, okay, while staying true to Christian values, then I'm the guide for you. If you're a high achieving guy, professionally successful, you're the type of guy that I can help, and the type of guy that's going to get really great results through my program. So if that's you, head over to strongmenstrongmarriages.com and apply, right? Click on work with me. You'll schedule a call and then fill out an application that we'll review on the call. So again, that's you. Look forward to seeing you there. All right. So stay strong, men, and I will see you next episode.